win at the end of the season, but who deserves recognition if the award was given out right now? It's the most awards reform. This is the only thing I have power to do. This is all I got. We begin with, of course, most valuable player. According to Caesars William Hill, LeBron James is now the current favorite, with Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic rounding out the top three. Well, at the beginning of the season, it was Luka.
Yeah.
And again, I always want to say about betting houses, their favorite is who they think they can take the most money on. It's not a basketball analysis.
That's why Luka's card went for $4 million.
There you go. So, Paul, you tweeted out your MVP rankings earlier this week. Who is your midseason MVP?
Yeah, right now it's Joel Embiid.
Okay.
I mean, he has the top spot in the Eastern Conference. He's been dominant. The way he's transformed his game, his body, his mental. He's giving you 30 and 11. And yeah, people are going to say, well, Joker's doing this, Luka's doing that, LeBron's doing this. This guy has been flat out dominant because before the season, I didn't see the 76ers being in this spot. Yeah, I had them in the top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. I thought they really lost a couple years when they lost out to Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick. Yeah, they got Seth Curry. You know, they got some shooting over there, but I just didn't see this team to be in the top spot in the Eastern Conference, and it's all because of this guy being as dominant as he has. He's been consistent, he's been reliable, and he has them right where they need to be in the Eastern Conference, and that's right on the top.
So I got Joel Embiid second. I really do. Joel Embiid is like, when you watch the Lakers go through that little 4-game stretch, you're like, oh, this is Embiid, and Embiid had a 50 ball, and Ben Simmons, who was out a little bit, is back. So I just, for me right now, watching what LeBron James has done early on, again, prior to that 4-game stretch, they were the #1 team. Now they've won two starters, but that's what MVPs typically step up in those moments, right? And so, you know, they struggled. As soon as they got Schroeder back, they go and blow out the Warriors. They go blow out Portland. So I still think it's LeBron.
What they do last night?
Well, look, they lost to the Phoenix Suns, but I'm going to say it is a very, very, very close race.
It is close.
It is very close.
Like LeBron, he's the best player. No, listen, LeBron is the best player in the game. He's the best player in the game, right?
Fair.
And if we're going to say that, even though you lose AD, you lose Schroeder, you find a way to keep your teams afloat.
Yeah.
Now he's a little older. He hasn't done that. You know, I think their record is more like 6-4 or 7-5 since AD's been out, and so he took a step back for the last couple of weeks. So when AD comes back and they start winning, he'll be back there. But Joel Embiid is there for me, and even Harden. I have to put Harden in there. I mean, no KD. Kyrie's been. You don't know when he's going to show up. You know what type of mood he's going to be in that day.
Kyrie's played very well.
He's played very well. Nothing against his game, but you just know you don't know when he's going to be in and out the lineup. And like I said, they've been 7 games together, and Harden is reliable, and you know what other ability? He's available.
And the things that
you have to put him in there too.
The things that James Harden has done since the moment he showed up with the Nets have been historic. Right, it was like it's been over the top. He's already second all time in triple doubles. I think it's really, really close.
It's close.
It's very, very close. No one knows.
It's going to change week in and week out for me, just so you guys know. Well, next week it could be LeBron, Harden, Embiid, but right now it's Embiid.
Well, let's move on to Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert has won the award twice before. Ben Simmons has called himself the best defensive player in the league. LeBron James only second to Gobert in defensive win shares, which, Richard, I know is a stat you follow religiously.
Yeah, really closely.
Who you got? DPOY.
Me, I think Rudy Gobert. I think the Utah Jazz, having gone through the toughest part of their schedule, having dominated the league, the league, and we're not going to throw out excuses or anything.
Yeah.
They have like rebounding, like you go through down the stats, and they are top 2 or 3 in offense and defense and 3-point shot. They're crushing, and so I think the anchor of their defense is Rudy Gobert. He's been that guy. I think the first team. I think you would go Ben Simmons is close. I think Joel Embiid gets some votes, but I think it's Rudy Gobert.
This is my thing.
Tell me your thing.
We judge the defensive win shares. Like, to me, the defensive player of the year, you gotta pass the eye test for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, Ben Simmons, I haven't watched him enough to say he's a great defender, but like when I see the eye test, I'm not seeing those guys.
He's a great defender.
Like, he's a great defender, but like the defenders in my era, when you see the Gary Paytons picking up full court, like up in you, like I'm on you. I'm like Tony Allen. When we see guys like that, just no breathing room. I don't see that from the perimeter guys these days. And so when I say defensive player of the year, from a perimeter guy, I like to see those type of intangibles, the steals, the not giving any guy any room. So for me, it's Rudy Gobert because he clogs up the lane and it's tough to score over him. For a perimeter guy, I just don't see that today. Like a Pat Beverly, he's not giving you no space.
I'll say this and we'll move on.
And the stats may say otherwise.
Ben Simmons is very, very
me.
close to that because when we talk about positionless basketball, he gets into players 1 through 5 because he's 6'10". That's all I'm going to say.
Let's go to Rookie of the Year. And again, this is at the mid-season.
Why are we talking about Rookie of the Year? We know who it is.
Well, that's what I think. Caesars William Hill lists LaMelo Ball as the overwhelming favorite. Our producers agree. He's the overwhelming favorite. And apparently you guys agree. He's the overwhelming favorite.
Congratulations, LaMelo, on your Rookie of the Year. Who was it? Stephen A. said, you are everything that your brother was promised to be.
Oh, come on.
He said it. I didn't say it.
His dad said he was going to be the best ball anyway.
He did, yeah. Well, I agree.
I mean, come on.
Whether that's true or not,
he is next level. He is
box
office. He is box office. There's only probably about 10 to 12 people that you would pay to go see, that you would tune in to watch. And take hype away, LaMelo Ball is that guy, in my opinion.
Yeah,
he's one of those
I agree.
guys.
I mean, look at the path he took, though. Leaving high school. So, do more youngins take this path?
That is certainly true. Went outside the traditional, not just college, but outside the traditional high school route.
He's been playing pro ball since.
Yeah, if you got a brother that's got millions of dollars to make sure everything is catered and okay for you, and all the trainers and all that other stuff.
But if I'm GM and if I'm, a high school guy or a coach or a father, I'm looking at the route because look at Luka. He's been pro since 14, and look where he is. Look at LaMelo. He went pro out of high school, went overseas and played a couple years. And so is this the new path that we're going to see younger talent?
My kid is 5 years old, and I've already thought about putting him in the IMG Academy. The IMG Academy, if they only take players at 7. Like, this is like Juilliard. If you can play the piano at 7, you're off. And so I'm still waiting on the application to come back to see if my 5-year-old can go.
Patience, and I do want to just say this. Part of the panic would be we got to make a move at the trade deadline, not panic, we're going to throw out the roster.
No, I think this is patience for the Miami Heat. They've always been a patient organization, so nothing is going to change at this point in time. I know it's beautiful music. Thank you. I need to get that when I'm walking around. But the reason why I think is I think that they weathered the storm. Yeah, they weathered the storm. Not having a guy like Jay Crowder, not having guys like that in your locker room. You see the impact that he had in Phoenix. They needed extra bodies. They didn't have them. But look, with Butler, they're great. Without Butler, they struggle.
Another Jimmy Butler?
There's only one Jimmy Butler, so I think it's patience.
Yeah, their roster, they're young. I mean, like 90% of their rosters on their rookie deal probably still. I mean, they have time. I mean, I think you have to coincide it with Jimmy Butler's age, and you got to figure Jimmy Butler has a lot of years left in the tank. When healthy, he's one of the best in the league. And, these other guys, they're young, they're getting better. Bam, he's become an all-star in this league. You got to expect him to get back to the all-star game eventually. Maybe he's one of the snubs this year.
Yeah.
And so it's nothing but patience here in Miami. They were ahead of a curve last year. Nobody saw them getting to the finals. And so
except for Jimmy Butler.
Except for Jimmy Butler. I mean, absolutely. So it's a lot of patience that they need down there in Miami.
All right, I'm kind of going to mess up producer Danny's game a little bit. Can I say ponder?
No,
the middle between
that's not
patience
one of them.
And panic?
That's not one of them.
Only
No,
this.
not listening.
I would ponder a trade for Victor Oladipo since it seems he is going to be available. I would just think about it and see what the price is. Otherwise, maybe you try to sign him this offseason.
Hero. It's going to be Duncan Robinson.
Ponder.
Nope.
Next up, the Tampa Bay Raptors. Although maybe the championship shine will wear off on them. Everyone's a champion in Tampa. This team started 2-8, but they're slowly climbing their way back to 500. We all know this is a good team. They just haven't quite looked like the Raptors we've expected. So here's another look at the standings. They're 17-17, a very claustrophobic 4-10 in the East. Paul, you've watched a lot of Toronto this year. Are you panic or patience?
This is a panic for me.
Yeah.
This is a panic into patience because I think you have to find a way to get some value for Kyle Lowry. As they're getting older, this team is not a championship team as built. And so if you could try to get some value
He's on an
for
expiring
Kyle
contract.
Lowry, and that's what I'm saying. You make a trade and do Kyle Lowry adjust and get him on a team where he could probably try to win another championship. But then it turns into patience because you get some young assets to build around Siakam and Van Vliet and move forward with this franchise to build their way back into a championship contender.
I'm going to say panic also. I think, no one questions what Masai is planning. He's planning something. But I think right now you talk about windows, and we're going to mention that a bunch. I think the window for this team currently constructed to contend for a conference finals is gone.
Okay.
So it's kind of like sell high.
Right.
If we can get some picks for this, I'm not like, you have great pieces still. There is no window for Van Vliet. There is no window for Siakam.
Yeah.
But there is a window to get
Kyle.
value from Kyle. And so I think you do that. You start not rebuilding, but reloading. Right, but right now you got to give up some assets before you move forward.
Well, look, and Masai, as we've seen, is a pragmatist, right? I mean, we know what happened with DeMar DeRozan, and when he sees something that's going to improve his team, he goes for it. I will say this: if you look at the teams around the league who are positioned to maybe get Kyle Lowry to make that offer, you know who maybe the best positioned team is with the assets?
Who?
The Philadelphia 76ers, friends.
Ooh.
Do you know where Kyle Lowry is from?
Philly.
Philadelphia.
Well, Nova boy.
All right. Next, everyone's favorite bubble team, the Denver Nuggets. Despite an MVP caliber season from Jokic so far, they just have not looked again like the team that we thought was ready to take the next step. So here's where they stack up in the West, 20-15. They are 7th in the West right now. What do you think? Panic? Patience, Paul? I mean, they lost, what do you think?
This is a panic button for me. I mean, you talk about a team that was in the conference finals a year ago, and now you have Joker playing at an all-time high level at the center, something we haven't seen in many, many years. You got to be able to keep this guy happy moving forward, because as you start wasting years like this that Joker's having, and the only reason he won't get MVP this year is because their team is not going to be in the top 4 of the conference. And so if there's a move out there you can make to vault this team back into the top 4, I think you got to do it. And that may mean sacrificing Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray?
What? I mean,
you mean Michael Porter Jr.?
Listen, if you could get a bill for Murray, would you do it? I mean, come on, it's something you have to think about, because they're not going to just. I mean, he has value, and this is not a knock on Jamal Murray, but he has value over there.
No, look, the
and
James
Michael Porter Jr. We don't know who he's going to be yet, and so if you want something, you got to give something. If you want to take that next step, it's going to cost you.
No. Like, respectfully,
would you do deal for Murray?
To the Hall of Famer next to me, like this is a patience moment, right? They have been progressing every single year. I understand they had a shortened off season. They've. Look, Jamal got off to a slow start. He's been playing well of late. Joker's playing at a high level. But ultimately, these guys are still like 25 years old. So your window for them to be great is still another 7-8 years.
Yes.
So, and Michael Porter Jr. is young. They got RJ Hampton on their bench. They, I like Zeke Naji. They have a ton of talent. So there's no, hey, when you look at the San Antonio Spurs over the Tim Duncan 20 years, there were years that they were first, there were years that they were 7th, there were years that they were 8th, there were years that they were 3rd. So it was just like, there's going to be years where you have up and down. When you have talented young players, stay pat, because they're still in the postseason. They got off to a slow start, so this is patience.
So you think that Murray can be that Robin for Joker?
100%. I think he still has room to grow. He's got room to grow.
Right?
And he just had a 50 ball with no free throws, which is the craziest stat I've still ever seen.
At this point in his career, you thought he'd be an all-star by now.
Agreed.
Yes.
You thought he'd be in an all-star game. And he's a great player in this league.
Yeah.
But you thought at this point his development, but if you look at his stats for the last 3 years, he hasn't got that much better.
Director Kathy, can we get the patience harps one more time? Can we get those?
No, I got no